he kind of wanted me to be that trailblazer. He was determined that I wouldn't go down the pit. My dad never spoke to me for 6 months. I had a click, penny dropping moment. I thought, you know what? Fuck you. To be honest, I'm a risk taker, and I think any entrepreneur, you've got to have that ability. The biggest and the best in the UK since 2009. Who are the people behind A Training? Now we're going to reveal all. Now is the time to really tell the story.
A Training, this is our story. So you were born in South Kirkby, Yorkshire. What was your upbringing like, and how did your early life shape the person you are today?
So I'm one of 6 children. I'm third as the first boy. My dad was a miner. He went into the mines at Frickley Colliery. My mum had her first child at 16, and it was kind of a very communal village life. It was tough. We lived in a small house, 3 bedrooms, and we all shared bedrooms. It was a small family, hard-working community where I think really what it did for me was my dad went to work. He did a really tough job, but the first thing that I saw was that when he came home at the end of the week, he brought this big roll of money. And I very quickly realized that if you were disciplined and you worked hard, you earn lots of money. And we didn't have the best of everything, but he provided the best that he could. And although it wasn't a lovey kind of environment, we were taught lots of respect, treat your elders well. And I think it just gave me the roots and the confidence to know that I really knew that to get out of this little village, I had to work hard. And then as I developed as a boy, I found that as a very sensitive young boy in a family of 6, there wasn't much attention. And it really gave me that frustrating energy that catapulted me to say, I need to find something different.
And different you did find, and you chose hairdressing as your first professional path. What inspired you to enter that industry, and what did it teach you about working with people?
To be perfectly honest, it wasn't entering it, it was rebelling. So my dad was a miner. He never had a problem at all with me being gay, even though it was a small, tiny village. It was the 80s. I was bullied as a child. But although I was bullied as a child, I was very well educated. So of all 6 of us, I was the one that kind of had the brain, so to speak. I kind of did well at school. I progressed well. My dad wanted me to go to Cambridge. He wanted me to be a doctor. He wanted me to do well. He was determined that I wouldn't go down the pit. He was determined that I would do something. And he kind of wanted me to be that trailblazer. However, 16 came along. The person that was obviously gay, struggling, identity, getting bullied, all of this pressure. Someone who lived on our street had a small little salon, and her small little salon was above a wool shop, and I used to go there. I looked very different. I had highlights, streaks back in the day, if anyone's old enough watching this, bleached. I looked very different. I stood out. I wanted my own identity, and I used to go and shampoo for her on a Saturday to make money. I stayed on at college to please my dad, really. And then one particular day, I got 100% in the history assignment. I went home, and as proud as punch, I wanted to show my dad how well I'd done. And as I went up to him, I said, oh, look, Dad, I've got this. And he was reading his newspaper, and he went, why do I want to look at that? And as awful as that was back in the day, it was the turning point for me that opened up a new path. I had a click, penny dropping moment. I thought, you know what? Fuck you, kind of. Yeah. I need to do what I want to do. So I jacked in college. My dad never spoke to me for 6 months. And I did a YTS at Dimensions in Wakefield, £23 a week. And I did that for 12 months in a very tiny salon with one stylist. And really, right from the beginning, I used to sit in that salon and we had 6 bottles of gel. And I used to go to those bottles of gel and reposition them. Imagine it was my salon. Imagine I owned this. And right from 16, I wanted my own business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do well. And Karen, who owned the business, I was there probably 3 months, decided that she'd go off on holiday for a week and leave me in the salon, running the salon. So little Chris at 16, who'd just been shampooing, was left with this salon, and in came my apprenticeship coordinator, walked into the salon, saw me doing everything, and was like, holy shit, you know, she left you on your own, you're not insured. And that's really the footsteps for the rest of my life. I always did things quicker. I always took things at speed. I always wanted to learn. I always wanted to do better. I always wanted to improve. And I always found that wiggle room to get through, find a way. Anyone who put a barrier up, anyone who tried to stop me, anyone who said no, maybe that was the bullying, maybe that was being picked on. It just gave me that strength to go, you know what, I'm going to do it. And as much as me and my dad butted heads, he really gave me the strength to know that you can do this. He was very proud of Wade. You know, you've got to go out there, you've got to make a name for yourself. So really, it was a bit of a kind of junction point. But then very quickly, I picked up the pair of scissors. I was a natural. I went to then work in Leeds. I got into a busy, big salon. I won awards. I won the Yorkshire Golden Scissors Awards. I was in the newspaper. Every Sunday, I used to have a Gola sports bag, my perm pins, my streaking cap, my colours. And from 8 a.m., I used to go out and I went and did hairdressing mobile. And that was, I was only just 18. I got my first Ford Fiesta brand new, paid for. And it just really allowed me to have independence. And I realized that money didn't make your life happier, but it gave you choices. So I became successful very quickly. And then I joined a company called Steiner, and that was a big shift for me. And that really projected me to go and work in London, you know, which the bright lights, the big city was calling. And that was sort of the next phase, really. So I didn't really ever want to be a hairdresser. I just slipped into it.
So from the kind of early work that you did, what lessons did you learn about running a business that led you to be where you're at now as an entrepreneur?
Do not trust anyone. You know, the biggest thing for me is that as sad as it sounds and as strong as it sounds, you've got to be tough. You know, people can have an artistic still, people can do what they do well, but there's so many facets, there's so many layers. And when you're working with people, and I was an area manager, so I looked after 120 salons up and down the country. And, you know, at 26, I was on 98K a year, I had a company car. But what I learned very quickly was everyone wants a piece. Everybody needs to kind of battle, work, show that they are proving themselves. And for me, I learned very quickly that you had to find your own lane. You had to find what you were good at. And very quickly, I'll be honest, I learned that it's good to fail. You need to fail.
You do.
You need to fail. 100%. It's good to fail, learn from your failures, pick yourself up and know yourself, and be truthful to yourself. You can't be fake.
So how did that switch happen from hairdressing into the world of aesthetics, and what differences did you find there were in in the different industries?
So Steiner was very big into beauty. I ran the beauty side as well, and I loved facials. I always loved looking after my skin, and I never thought that you would be able to inject. I obviously kind of could have had a career as a doctor, gone to Cambridge, done the route or whatever. But being a hairdresser, basically right from the beginning, I just think it's seen as being you're creative, but you're thick. In a nutshell, you're a thick person and you've had to do that and you're doing a job. So we were shown that there was someone training non-medics, and it was someone who worked alongside me, and they said, oh, you do know that you can as a non-medic get trained. And this was like a wow moment for me, because it's something that I'd always wanted to do. I became very interested in skin. I had Botox from the age of 27, and I just knew the importance of looking and feeling good. So I then kind of trained twice, very quickly. There was one person that opened up the floodgates, and at the time was the only person, then a second person. And to be perfectly honest, I had a very quick one-day course with each one of them, paid thousands of pounds, and came away and probably knew very little. But I got insured, and the lucky thing for me was we got loads of staff, and I just, like my hairdressing, practice, 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 practice. Do it, do it, do it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And my thirst for knowledge was, I just love learning science, knowledge, background, and learning from making small mistakes, really. So I paid a shitload of money, got crack training, and then I've always been a teacher at heart and always known that the importance of doing something correctly. So in the back of my mind was this dripping tap, was as excited as I was to do this, how the hell, after one day, was I insured to inject someone with a needle, when it took me 3 years to become a qualified hairdresser? So a massive door opened. It totally was a game changer for me. And to be honest, it just went crazy.
And that shift and that change led to you leaving London and moving to Grantham, 2009. So was that a scary thing? What were the risks, leaving that life in London where you had the security of your hairdressing? So what risks and opportunities came about?
To be honest, I'm a risk taker, and I think any entrepreneur, you've got to have that ability to throw everything up in the air. You've got to jump, you've got to take risks, you've got to really be eager beaver. And I put my hairdressing scissors down. I was earning a lot of money. In London, I had 3 columns. I had a blow dry column, a cutting column, and a colouring column. I was earning great, £250 an average bill. And then by default, the sort of unfortunate thing was my older sister, Sharon, she was diagnosed with lung cancer. She's still here, but that gave me an opportunity to sell my business, make some money, and I spent 2 years sat helping her. And in that time, I swerved and ended up coming to Grantham and doing alternative training alongside the aesthetics. And then once I knew she was safe, she was fully healed and on track, then I got back on the Trailblaze wagon, and I just thought, you know what, I want to do this again and take all the experience and the skills that I'd got from my area manager, owning my own business. And then this building in Grantham, I looked at it 4 times, and it was massive, 21,000 square feet. And the key thing was, someone said to me, it's too big, you'll never do it. And that little dripping tap, that little bully, that person that said, you're a puff, you'll never make anything of yourself, that teacher that put you down, we've all got it, we've all got our story. And that little belly, that flair, that fire. My dad, the power. I just got it. And I thought, I signed, and we had no staff. We'd done nothing. And within 6 weeks, X Factor style, we employed 20 staff, didn't have a clue. And we opened 7 days a week until 9 o'clock at night. And it became a success very quickly. Hard work, determination, great staff, good people.
So after your sort of 1-day courses, you did a couple of those, you realised that actually there's something very wrong in the fact that you had to do 3 years to train as a hairdresser as a regulated qualification. So give us a little bit of background as to how regulated qualification at level 7 in aesthetic practice came about, and why you took the opportunity, risk, challenge in developing that level 7 qualification.
I'd like to say it was quick. It's kind of took 7 years, ridiculously, level 7 years. So there was a couple of training companies back then that were the key players. There was an insurance called Cathedral Associates. They were very strict as an insurance company, and they just were strict in their policy of insurance. And Larry was a bit like Marmite, but he just wouldn't insure anybody. So although the training was crap, to get insurance, you had to jump through hoops. So he was kind of the gatekeeper, if you like. And then from that, I quickly began to develop the level 7. And then weirdly enough, all of the other training companies, you don't need this level 7, it's all rubbish. And then obviously when we get the level 7, they jump on the bandwagon. But I literally spent £100,000 with lots of people. There's been 5 versions, and they've been taken to different awarding bodies. There isn't a fast version, so this is the long version, but I think now is the time to really tell the story, because lots of people out there say, oh, he's not, he didn't develop it, he didn't do it, he wasn't the first, all the rest of it, all the haters. But you know what? I did it. Nobody can take that away. I knocked on the door and I signed an NDA, and the first original awarding body's gone into liquidation now, so I can talk about this. And they screwed me over. And I signed an NDA and they gave it to the medics, my first qualification. And then I sat down and did it again. And then I went to every single reputable awarding body that is supposed to support the beauty industry. I sat in meetings, I sat with all of these people who are taking money in associations, pretending that they're protecting the beauty world, pretending that they were part of the hairdressing, the Hair and Beauty Industry Association, all of these different things. I tried, I knocked on, and you know what? They all stepped back as soon as anybody from the medic world began to question them, and they were fearful. And then thankfully, by default, I got invited in 2013 to be on the Bruce Keogh Report expert reference. And I went to London and I met Tiffany Tarrant, and I went into a room, and in this room, there was a couple, me, Tiffany, and all the rest were medics, and it was a setup. And we'd been set up to go in this room, and they basically treated us like we were a piece of shit. And they talked to us like we were rubbish and put us down, and they set us up, and they tried to basically close the door down. But thankfully in that room, one of the key things that I said was, this PIP report about breast implants, it's really simple. This is not about anything about surgical or anything. The surgeon decided to put a cheap implant in, and it was greed. And the whole room went silent. And then after that meeting, someone from the government took me as a secretariat into a room, and they went, you're the only one that dared to stand up and say something. And from that moment, doors opened, and I just got involved. And I took it upon myself, because to be truthfully honest, in that room at that moment, My partner at the time was in a coffee shop, and I went into the coffee shop and I literally cried because I felt like being back at school. I felt like I was back with the bullies. And that's what it's always felt like. You know, you're not good enough. You can't do this. You are not going to do this. And after crying, feeling upset, I kind of knew that then I had to be the person to get this on the regulated framework. And through Tiffany and through Jenny, another person that I met at the time, everybody seemed to come along. It was all, I'm very into the universe. I really believe in, you know, we not go off on a tangent, but we're all a magnetic energy and send it out and it happens. And every single person arrived and every single thing happened. And the key thing is, I eventually got an awarding body after speaking to 5, closing the doors, everybody letting us down, and they accepted it. But guess what? They screwed me over again because I didn't get that contract. They took it and they, in an email, told me what I could have, but it wasn't a legal contract. And every single thing that I wanted to be best practice, the highest standard, everything that I wanted this to be, over 5 years, 6 years since it's been launched, has been dumbed down, weakened, to just get training centres open, make this awarding body money. You know, it's going weaker and weaker and weaker. But the hard thing was, I knew it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, but the more people that said no, the more determined I got. And thanks to the blood of my dad and the pushing forward, we got it. And it's done.
So you got the original level 7 qualification onto the RQS, so the framework where qualifications are held. What then led to the launch of the new suite of qualifications with a different awarding organisation?
So having made mistakes, having learned, having to be screwed over, having not done contracts, and kind of the wiser self, then realised that actually we were vulnerable yet again. So thankfully, a second awarding body evolved, and with a new suite of qualifications. And moving forward, there's a choice. You know, it's a great thing to have. Regulations taken a long time. The government seemed to be stalling. You know, everyone's saying it's Cowboy West out there, but actually there's 5% at this side, 5% at this side, and 90% in the middle that are bloody fantastic injectors. They all just want to be aligned and given the truth and direction. And I think now with that choice and how good it is, it's exciting for the future. But I still feel what really pisses me off is, and this is the only thing that really pisses me off, is all of those people that in their shop window are stating they're selling level 7. And I knew this if it wasn't done correctly. And that's why the standards have been dumbed down. That's why it's been diluted. So pretty much anybody, yet again, can offer it, needs to be moved into the direction that originally it was. When you're looking for a qualification, not all qualifications are the same. You need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research, and you need to check how many people have actually achieved the qualification in this centre. How many of the teachers actually hold the qualification in this centre? And visit it, look around. How do they assess it? How many IQAs are in there? How many assessors are in there? Speak to past learners, and you'll see what we're very proud of here. Thanks to amazing staff, amazing team that we've got. Everyone in this building is better than me. One of the key things that I will say that I, as well as failing every day, I know surround yourself with people that are better than you. You know, There are so many people in this building that are better injectors. They do things better than me. I'm good, and I know what my qualities are, and I know what I'm an expert in, but I know what I'm not. And we've got the full package.
We have.
We've got everything in this building, and it's tried and tested. We've rolled it out for 6 years, and we're fucking good at it.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And you know, with the team that we've built, how did that team evolve? How did it all kind of slot into the place that we are now?
It all changed when you arrived.
I led you nicely in there, didn't I?
You did.
I did.
You went through the program, and you know, without blowing smoke up your ass, you're my yin. You're the yin to my yang. You're all the things that I'm not. And what people don't understand, you know, you can have skills, but you need all facets. You need all pieces to the jigsaw. The business, the entrepreneur, you know, and you need to equally fill all the gaps. And what you did was, the time that you came in, we were doing well, we were doing good, we achieved a lot, but we needed to rethink the model. We need to restructure. So you at the time were kind of going to open a satellite in Brighton, and then you went through all of the years training to become a teacher. And whilst we were training, we got to know each other. You became a friend. And unlike all those friends that screwed me over, oh, let's get in, let's get free training, let's get Chris, because, you know, I love to give, I love to share, I love to give knowledge out. I don't feel that anyone's a competition. But over the years, I've been milked, the cow's been milked, people have screwed me over. But for the first time, very genuinely, you became a friend, but also an equal business partner. So you walking into this building made a change. I believe in everything happens for a reason. Like I say, you're the yin to the yang. You're an amazing injector. You're an amazing businesswoman. And I think the two of us together, we've built now strong foundations for the future.
Yeah.
So you changed the terrain. Everything was, the pieces were there. They just needed to be solid and kind of remixed up. So probably that, I would say, is a big one. There's great people that have come and gone. I pay people really well. People get greedy. They always show their kind of greedy face. You know, the cream kind of goes to the top, but the shit goes to the bottom. And, you know, that's what makes business, isn't it? I've got no regrets at 57. But at the same time, I honestly believe to be an entrepreneur, you've got to take risks. You've got to make mistakes. You've got to know what you're good at, but you've got to bloody admit what you cannot do and be honest. Be really honest with yourself, because social media, as much as we've all got to do it, it's so fake.
Yeah.
Do I want to kind of pretend to lip sync to sell injectables? Do I want to inject my face? Do I want to do a dance? Do I? But I do know that you've got to stretch yourself. You've got to push yourself, and you've got to surround yourself with good people. So high five to you, really. You know, people don't understand behind the A Training brand. I know it's me leading this podcast, but, you know, you are so much better than me in so many different areas. Get quite emotional. I just think I think it's just being true to yourself.
And I think, you know, when I came in 2022, it was it was aligned, it was time, and I think, you know, equally I've grown massively from your support, you know, and that's where we really work very, very different. And
so I think the key thing is, if you're going to be a lone trader, a sole trader, it's a fucking tough business, the aesthetics. It's bitchy. People really will kind of not trailblaze you, see you as competition. So find your tribe, find your alignment, find someone to trust, whether it's a business coach, some brilliant business coaches out there. Find your weakness, what you're not good at, find that person who you can trust, either pay them or align with them or have a payoff with them. But you've got to kind of sit down. You can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
You cannot be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
It's tough, and 2026 is going to be the worst year. Financially, the economy is going to be tough, but to thrive, and we've had our best year ever, but to thrive, people need to change.
Yes.
Be willing to change. Definitely.
So we've spoken a little bit about sort of how we came together, but what do you do outside of work in terms of getting away from it all, relaxation?
7:30 every morning I meet my PT Monday to Friday and I do a workout. That changed my life, and I do it. I pay the PT even though I own the gym, and it gets me there. It disciplines me. I found my kind of outside mental, my body feels better, I feel stronger than ever. I've always been into nutrition. I've got a nutritional degree which I acquired along the way, but I think your mental mind needs to kind of do something totally different. So weightlifting, doing gym, always. And I've got my three babies. My little doggies, there was 4, lost one, Luna, which was very sad, So 3 babies, Arnie, Shadow, Sunny, and they are treated like children. They have a nanny. At least 75% of my whole weekly finances goes on these dogs. And if you want to come back and have your best life, come back as one of my dogs.
So, any advice to any sort of aspiring practitioners, anyone considering entering the industry? It's a great industry, and we've discussed, the history behind what's happened. Where are we at with advice for those from a non-medical background?
I think it's better than ever. You only need 32 clients coming 4 times a year, having 2 treatments to make £120,000 business. It's definitely easier than ever my hairdressing days, even though it's successful. It's a great creative environment. There are so many opportunities, and there is definitely lots of finances, a great business model to be made. However, you have got to do your research. You have got to take the time. There are cowboys, charlatans. There are people on TikTok offering you snatch package, pathway package, 73 courses for £1,000, which is a piece of paper. CPD, which is continual professional development. That's what you do after you've got a regulated qualification. Make sure you do your research. Your money you've earned and you want to use it wisely. Don't do a 1-day, 2-day course. Same with your insurance. Cathedral Associates are still our insurance company. We've had them for 2 decades. They've protected us. We've had no liability. We've had no malpractice claims. And throughout that time and time again, we've seen policies that don't cover. We've seen machines that are not really doing what they say. They're not actually UK. You can't use them if anything happens. So, the next new machine, the next new product, the next online course, you have to be sensible and try and find a mentor. Try and find someone who's willing to give you a little bit of a heads up, give you advice. And anyone who's worth anything will invite you in for a day, show you around, which we do here. It's an open door policy. Meet, talk, just see us. It's a cliche, but we are a family. We've had the same team for many, many, many years. People don't just go and come, and we don't have one dayers coming in, fly by nights, so come in, find the knowledge, do your research. Do I think the regulations are going to come in? Yeah, I do. Will they kick out non-medics? No, I don't think they will. But I do think when they do come in, people are going to be scrambling to get the level 7. We have peaked our performance this year. We are fully booked until April next year. And people are really going to struggle when the announcements happen, because you need to get into the best training company. I know people that have been 4 years trying to get a level 7 and still out past even a level 5. They've not got assignments marked. I know people that have been doing assessments, and instead of using peels, they've been using saline because on each other, because they can't get the models. I could endless stories, and I'm not kind of bitching off these companies, but I just think, you know what, don't be screwed over like I was when I first did my training. Spend a lot of money, choose wisely, don't second guess it, ask the information, go to visit if you can. But on the flip side, yes, it's a tough year next year, but I really do feel the tree is going to shake, the shit's going to fall, and the new buds are going to ripen. And I do think there is great opportunities, and it will make a difference. By 2027, everything will be in place. There will be changes. It will happen. And make sure your insurance is insuring you for everything that you do. Because at the minute, that is the true guidance. And maybe, as part of my legacy, I'm nearly there. I'm going to do something in 2026. I'm going to commit myself, which is a biggie. And I'm going to launch something to protect all the non-medics out there. So watch this space.